So, hello everyone. I'm Dave Blanchard. I'm the founder of Cognisis Marketing. I'm here with my friend and colleague Kyria McGill, and we were just talking about how crazy things have gotten with the coronavirus for business owners. And it is really crazy out there. I was talking with a gym owner yesterday who's in Oregon, and she's by law has to shut her gym, and she's endeavoring in whatever way possible to keep her staff on and paid in the midst of, just tremendous chaos. So it's just crazy out there for business owners.
It is definitely a scary time right now. As small business owners, this isn't something we can go and look at like our mentors and ask for, how do we handle this? Because really nobody has data on what we can do or what we can't do, or how it will all kind of pan out and stuff. So we're all kind of in new territory right now.
Well, I'm thankful for you to share your expertise. I know you've not been here before, but you're a culture guru and you know how to deal with people problems. So I was just wondering, what are your thoughts as to what a small business owner can do to help their team through this?
So first and foremost, and I'll say that this is probably one of the questions each of my clients has been asking me, is stay calm. Honestly, we're all in this together. There's no precedent, there's no right or wrong at this point because we just don't know what it is. So stay calm. The second thing is to be transparent. Let them know where you're at. Let them know that, hey, if this happens, we're going to have to make some tough choices. And these are tough choices. I think that we have to give our team credit for understanding where we're at right now. I think unless you've literally isolated yourself from absolutely everything, there's no way to not know that there is something different happening, that there is some sort of turmoil happening. I mean, you can see it if you go out, you can see it if you stay in. It's sort of everywhere and it's kind of all consuming at this point. So be transparent. Let them know that, hey, we understand it's scary. We don't know what's going to happen next. And we're going to do the best we can, not only for themselves and the business, but for their team, because truly that team is what is going to help them when we get back to normal. And I use the word normal cautiously. Depends on what normal is going to be. We may come out of this with a brand new normal. So it is those two things first and foremost, I think. Be calm and be transparent. The other piece I look at is that as a small business owner, we kind of create ourselves as leaders in our community. So be supportive of your colleagues, be supportive of your friends in your community. Look for ways that you can help, maybe, even if it is just as simple as a grocery delivery or calling and checking on someone. It's crazy how just those little phone calls make a huge difference. So kind of step up as a leader in your community. And, I'm from Ridgefield. It's a small town for the most part, getting bigger, but it's a small town for the most part. And I can tell you that that's one of the main things right now. Everyone's kind of pulling together. What can we do? How can we help? And I feel business owners have that leadership already in them. They need to do that. And it sends a message to your team. It sends a message that you care. It focuses on that culture that you're obviously building with them. And it just sort of reinforces that even in these hard times, that they are still important.
Yeah, and that connection is really the thing that people are going to be missing, because we're all isolating, right? We're social distancing, right? So we're sheltering in place. So the one thing that's going to go away, or is going away, is that social connection and just being there for each other.
I will say it's been amazing to see the options that we've created online so that people are still able to interact. We're very, very fortunate that we live in an age where we have the internet and we have virtual options, because, think back even 20 years ago, it would have been a very different impact. There are a lot of people that are able to continue working, or at least in some capacity continue providing, producing, however you want to call it, solely because we have this technology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. And I heard yesterday that there's a new Facebook group that started off that went to 20,000 members in 3 days, just for people to say, I need this, and I agree with that, which is awesome.
And I know most communities, like we have a Ridgefield page just for that. So I actually just started a page, and it's a women's book club. And I thought, well, we're all here, we can just read. And I expected maybe 7 people. we're at 40. And I'm like, I didn't even know 40 of us were going to read. So, and it's not even that, it's the interaction. Yeah. So I kind of have to step up my
That's
game.
cool.
When I was
That's
taking
great.
step in, it was easier.
So as a small business owner, how do I protect my company or ensure that I have a company after it's over?
I think first and foremost is be realistic. Plan for the worst and hope for the best. So really look at, are you going to put yourself in a position where you're never going to get out of this hole? And I mean that by, we all want to help. We all want to give as much as we can, but you have to take care of yourself first. You can't give anything if you haven't taken care of yourself. So I think it kind of tags onto that first question as well. Be honest with your team. Yes, we would love to say, hey, you guys, I'm going to keep you working. We're going to keep paying you, etc. But be realistic. If you do that, what's going to happen? So right now, let's say we're looking at a 2-week closure. And in some places, we're looking at up to 6 weeks. Schools were closed here for 6 weeks. What can you do to sustain that? And don't assume that that 6 weeks means 6 weeks, one day, everything's back to normal. First of all, everyone, even if it does go back to normal, everyone gets to go back to work, etc. They're still not going to have that money. They still have to get those paychecks. The money has to come in. And unfortunately, the truth of the matter is a lot of us now are kind of hoarding our resources. You know, and I don't mean like toilet paper and that kind of thing. I just mean like our money. We're trying to keep our credit cards available. We're trying to look for opportunities to just sort of, where can we cut costs right now? Which is part of it, kind of does it for you. We're not obviously paying for gas, a lot of entertainment we're not paying for, that type of thing. But it's going to be a difficult transition. So be realistic. And sometimes that means having a very difficult conversation. Sometimes that means that you have to sit your team down and say, we can't do this. We have to close our doors, whether it's legally required or just economically required for you. Here's what I'm going to do to support you. And there are resources both on the Oregon side and the Washington side for emergency resources for employees. And there's even a few things for small businesses that they're working on. So stuff's changing literally overnight, every day, all the time.
Yeah, it's really rapidly evolving, isn't it? What are some of the resources that you can that you can point people to?
So obviously social media is going to have a ton of groups, links, etc. Both Washington and Oregon, if you search their state websites, you will find employee resources that list the different options for unemployment, paid family medical leave, paid state leave. So Washington has our paid leave, those types of things. You're going to find those resources. I've posted on my Facebook page and a couple other places in different groups. They have a great PDF that's like an infographic that just tells you, here's what normally you can do, but here, because of the state of emergency, what is now available. It is not 100%. And the other thing to keep in mind is that now think of the number of people trying to use these resources. Mm-hmm. Washington implemented paid family leave, and I think it's an amazing program. They're estimating a minimum of 9 weeks before you'd see your first benefit. And that's if there's anything left. So I think that it's one of those, be realistic, be mindful of how you're using resources. I think there, again, go back to that responsibility. I saw a great thing on Facebook just now. If you're in the grocery store and you see stuff with the WIC symbol on it, and if you don't need WIC, don't buy it. Buy the same thing in something else, because those people who are using WIC can only buy that type. And if it's gone, it's gone. They don't get it. And this is feeding children and families. So I think it's being mindful of the resources that you use. And so think about that. If you call a state, like for example, the unemployment, you're going to wait in line. It's going to take some time. You may even get denied at first, only because they just can't get through them all. So be patient, be consistent, know that you're not alone as well. I mean, really, really, I think the best thing to do is remind everybody we're in this together. So just because, and I'll use, you said you had a friend with the gym. All the gyms are going through the same thing. No one's going to the gym. We can't. So they're all going the same thing. So it's I think states are working very hard to do things like forgiveness for late payments, delays, those kinds of things. Um, Again, I think my number one answer is don't panic, be realistic, be thoughtful in what you're doing, and just sort of know that it's not one industry. And I think that that's the piece that kind of everyone's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go out of business. Well, really, everyone's going to go out of business at this point. And I don't mean that to sound very doomsday-ish. I say that because, again, it's all of us together. Just, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, every single one of us is feeling it. So I think that worrying about what's going to happen afterwards at this point, we're going to try and be as normal as possible. There's some great opportunities to do right now, and I think I'm kind of jumping ahead in our questions, but as a business owner, there's so many little things that we kind of put aside. They're not what we like to do. I know myself, for example, I'm working on all my social media. I'm trying to get all of that as tied in and tight as I can. And I'm building some of my programs. I'm building some of my learning tools, things that are in my head all the time and I want to do, but day-to-day work doesn't let you. So I think that's the other area where people can really, as business owners, kind of help prepare, clean up stuff, get stuff ready, do a deep clean in your facility. Spend some time just on you, learn something, read a book, do an online training, those kinds of things, so that when we do hit normal, whatever normal is, when we do hit that, you've got that leg up. You've already got things ready to go. And I think that's the other thing that, as we want to protect our companies, these are ways we can do that.
That's awesome. Well, that's very cool. Yeah, and I'm impressed with some of the creative things that people are coming up with. Like I heard on the radio about a restaurant chain that was using their catering wing to provide meals for their employees. So amazing kind of creative thinking that's going into this. And I spent some time yesterday scanning that stack of business cards that had gotten piled up, on my desk, and I just hadn't gotten to for a while. So.
Oh, well, that's totally me right here. This has got to get all. But when do you do that otherwise? You just don't.
Yeah. So that's great. Is there anything else? Other parting thoughts?
I think especially as small business
advice, any wisdom you'd offer?
Yeah, I think as small business owners, really what the three things I can't express enough, and I've talked to a majority of my clients about: be calm. We are setting the tone for a lot of people. As an employer, your team looks at you for guidance, whether it's openly acknowledged that they are, but you set that culture. And again, being that culture minded, we have a lot of responsibility there. Be calm, be transparent, and be realistic. I think that there is, without going into too much detail, I think that there is a segment of our society that has gotten almost this mass hysteria type of feeling. And the idea that let's just take a breath, take care of ourselves, slow it down for a second. The last thing I want to share, though, is there is a silver lining to this. I'm the mom of 3 teenage boys. 2 teenagers, 1 20-year-old, so I can't say 3 teenagers anymore. We've had family time. And for those that have teenagers, that's rare. Yeah. They're not huge on, hey, let's hang out with mom. And we had poker night. We've had different cooking stuff. Take the time to really do some of those like passion projects. If you like to draw, do stuff that gives you a little bit of pleasure. That we all usually have that one thing that we can do on our own that's just sort of calming and something we're passionate about. Take the time to do that. There's some benefits to this right now. Enjoy each other. The less stressed you are, the better your immune system is. Have some fun with your kids, your family. I'm not suggesting have a barbecue and invite 50 people over, but I'm pretty sure most of us can have 1 or 2 of those like passion projects that, and for my husband, I'll share, he has a 48 Plymouth that he is tinkering with all the time. Now, he works in the healthcare system, so he doesn't get free time right now. But when he does, he'll spend a few minutes out there just because it is something that's calming for him. And it's kind of his way to just like decompress. It is stressful right now. So try and have a little bit of fun and look for something that you haven't really gotten into and get back into it. Have fun.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that's some really great advice. Thanks for taking the time to chat here and record this for folks. And be well, and yeah, take care of yourself.
You too. Thank you again.